Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 8th, 2024 Planning Board meeting of the Town of Carmel. First on our agenda for public hearing is Carmel Terminals.
Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, do we have any comments on this, Mike?
No, we left this one open. There were a few items that were outstanding. Rich, correct?
They've all been addressed. The applicant was attentive to all the comments that were there. They've given it to us. We're good with all those outstanding
Thank you.
comments.
And the public hearing is scheduled for tonight, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Okay, at that point, if there's anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this, come on up. No one?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, as there's no public comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, you discussed having a resolution for tonight.
Yes.
We do not have that resolution. That was our bad. But we can authorize you to sign that resolution tomorrow or the day after, so it doesn't have to come back to the board. There are no outstanding conditions or anything unusual with respect to this. And again, you heard Rich tell you, all the engineering issues have been addressed.
And they did provide performance bond and engineering fees to us that were acceptable. I wrote that to Rose. She was going to get it to Pat. So as long as those numbers get in that resolution, as they sent it to us, it should be good.
So if you do that by motion to authorize the resolution to be prepared and executed by the chairman as soon as it's prepared.
Okay, so I'll call that. All in favor? We need a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to sign a resolution prepared by our consultants, and I proceed from there.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Pat, would you please stop? Then I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Fabian Pani. It's on for a resolution. This is a regrading application. Mike, you had no comments, correct? I'm sorry. Hi, you want to introduce yourselves?
Thank you, Pani.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so this is on for resolution, for regrading. See, Mike, you had no comments on this?
No comments. All the zoning's been addressed. They're taking the soil out that was questionable and replacing it with good, clean soil.
And Rich, you had no
All
comments?
engineering comments addressed.
Okay,
And you have a resolution before you.
very good. Has it been regraded, has the fill been removed yet?
Can't yet.
No, they.
Not till the map's done.
Not telling us, okay, very good. All right, then, I need a motion to adopt the regrading resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion. Resolution of the Planning Board, Town of Carmel, 24, TAC 2, dated 8 February 2024, tax map number 75.17, TAC 1, TAC 52, Fabian Pani, 112 Stillwater Road, for regrading operations.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that's good. Okay, next on the agenda, this is for site plan, is Veolia, formerly Suez Water, Mahopac Wells.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Adam Wexstein. I'm from the law firm of Hockerman, Tortorella, and Wexstein, and I'm here on behalf of Veolia Ramaya Ramanathan is here with me, the planner, and Ryan Nasher, our engineer, as is Steve Garabed, who's the manager of engineering at Veolia. We were last here.
Actually,
as-
before you, just,
Oh,
I want to
please.
hear, thank you for the introduction. Let's hear from the consultants first, and then we'll address their comments. We'll get into that, okay?
Oh, I apologize.
No problem at all. All right, Mike, you had a memo on this. I believe.
Yes, my memo is basically that nobody answered any of my comments or addressed anything I asked from the last time, so.
Rich?
So this is to install a building that's hold a granulated activated carbon treatment for public water supply to treat for PFOAs and PFAs. Applicant has noted the referrals for all the other regulatory agencies and the need for various permits. The area of disturbance is now just under an acre, when last time it was about 2 acres. So they only have to have a SWIP, which is currently under review. That is for erosion sediment control only. One thing is a little unclear if they are including the disturbance of work being performed to connect into the town sewer system and to run the water line, up that's going through somebody's yard over there. I mistakenly had put 1 inch as a top coat for a town road. It's 12-inch item for 3-inch base, 2-inch binder, and 2-inch top, so that just needs to be corrected on the drawing. The applicant needs to note that if they're doing any work on our roadway, that's the requirement. If they're doing any driveway work, it's a different criteria that's listed in the memo. They've negotiated an agreement with Hunter's Run. Those agreements should be provided to the planning board for review and for council to review. All easements and information regarding the areas for the underground utility service must be provided. They provided that info, and it should be given to planning council. They need to provide a bond and performance fee, performance bond and engineering fee, sorry. The one thing, they did provide a wastewater report. I need to have confirmation that no backwash from the PFOA treatment system will discharge into the Carmel sewer system. And additional details are currently under review for how they're gonna connect into the town sewer system. The drawings provided for the water discharge package should be provided as a full set and included as part of the overall submittal package. So they gave smaller drawings, it's kinda hard to review them, so we'd like to get a full, larger set. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Rich. Pat?
So this application was before us just about 2 years ago. You remember we spent some time considering this application. Since that time, the applicant's made a revision. So the building's being moved about 62 feet away from the Coventry Court folks. And apparently that's been done in conjunction with the neighbors. So that's all well and good. As Rich mentioned, if there are any conditions of that agreement, we should be aware of them. But sort of that's a separate issue. What we should be evaluating is the suitability of this new location, regardless of what Hunter's Run agreed to or not. You're the ones that make this decision, so you should be comfortable with this. So really what we would need to see, which we didn't have in this submission, is really the comparison between this location and the previous location. So for example, grading, cut and fill, amount of tree removal, all of that information, this compared to the prior plan. If we are below those thresholds we were comfortable with last time, this is probably fine. If we're taking down more trees, if there's more cut and fill required, if there's a lot of additional excavation, we may have some concerns about this particular location. So understand that's been negotiated with neighbors, but you have to make this decision. With respect to that, details like new lighting, all of that sort of issue needs to be clarified. Apparently, this building is a little bit lower than the other building, so that's a positive. So is the separation. So this may be all good, but we just need to verify and compare between this plan and the prior plan.
Thank you. Okay, I appreciate, so we got quite a few comments at this point. I'll turn it over to you, but first I do have a question. And it's following up on Mr. Canaz's memo. Why were none of his comments addressed?
I'm sorry?
I'm asking why were none of Mr.
Well, I
Canaz's
think
memos?
we can turn it to our professional consultants who are the ones who are doing that. We haven't seen any recent written comments more recently than 2 years ago. So
Well, it would have been the last ones that were provided, so.
they were in early
Can you speak to that?
2022. I understand. That's
Hello, good evening. Ramya Ramanathan from Adzel Nasher Ziegler. Nice to meet some of you after so long. I'd like to clarify on the comment letters. I went back to the letters we got from 2021, I believe, and I was genuinely under the impression that your comment letter was addressed and the only letter remaining was the engineering memo, which is why we only responded to that. I'll go back to my records and check to see how that got missed. So that's something on our end. So yes, we did submit a response letter, but that was only to Mr. Franzari's memo. So I'm not sure where there's been something's happened. So I'll check back and I'll get that memo back to you. And with respect to the agreement, I'd let the attorney address as to supplying that to the planning board, but all conditions in the agreement that pertain to the site plan updates, I can brief you on that. To sum it up, like Mr. Cleary mentioned, the building has been moved 62 feet south, that's what the HOA residents required out of us. It's 5 feet lower. It was initially at 588 finished floor, now it's at 583.
Can you clarify that? Is the building shorter or
No,
is the grade?
just the grade is lower. The grade is lower. There's a treatment trailer on the site that the residents want us to remove after the final CAT building has been installed, and that should be done within the next 20 days.
Take the microphone with you.
I'm sorry.
No, there's another one there. You could grab.
So the HOA residents wanted us to add a note on the site plan stating that the treatment trailer, the temporary treatment trailer on the site right now should be removed once the project is completed within 20 days. Note saying so has been added to the plan. They wanted us to specify what kind of landscaping we're providing below the trailer, so we've mentioned that's going to be grass. There's another note in the site plan stating that about the color of the building. We did tell them we've already purchased the building for installation, and we've requested them to have a look as to, once it's installed, how they feel about it. If they still feel they're not okay with the color, we're willing to change it to Benjamin Top, a spec that the HOA has given us. And apart from that, as far as the lighting is concerned, all lighting would be motion sensor. That is another requirement that the HOA wanted, and we've added a note to the same on the site plan.
So I just wanted, that's an issue that I'm sort of harping on. So if the neighbors want the color of the building changed, you should be comfortable with the change of the color of the building, not just the neighbors. So
I agree. And we've already supplied the initial color that the ARB had approved. We bought the samples in, and that's the color that the client has supplied already. So if there's a change, that would be something we'll have to maybe come back and resolve.
We had samples here last time. Correct. And that has changed?
The HOA wants it to change. We've told them that we've ordered the building already. We're ready to install it once we have the permits. So we've requested them to see it, analyze it. If they're okay with it, we don't need to do anything. If they still feel it's going to be imposing.
Should they not,
Yeah,
then of course,
exactly.
we serve as architectural board
Yes.
as well. And we would ask you to bring back a proposed
Definitely.
sample for our review.
Definitely.
Are all the lights mounted on the building and downlit?
Yes.
Okay, so
Wall
there's
mount.
none outside that are going to be
No,
shining?
it's just wall mount, and it's on the lighting line. It's going to be motion
Similar to
sensor
what's on
downward.
the other one that we just inspected? Okay.
I would believe so, yes.
And just to be clear about, again, the color change, if that occurs after this board approves it, it's coming back to this board for an amended site plan approval. So
Definitely.
try to get that taken care of as soon as you can.
Okay, sure.
And I think there was a comment. We did want to see a copy of the agreement with
We will have to talk to the HOA, just so you understand where it fits in. And let me just say, we understood we were coming really to get your input and just tell you about our progress. It is our hope that we'll be able to move along to a public hearing in the not-too-distant future. But obviously, it's ultimately in your discretion. What the agreement did was, ultimately, there were plans attached to it that were conceptual that made the types of changes that were just described to you. The deal with the HOA was that once we reapplied to the board, they would be looking at the engineered plans, the plans we have now, which are at a far more advanced stage than what was attached to the agreement, to make sure they're materially the same. We got those plans to the HOA on January 25th. We would expect to hear something more substantive from them. I did speak to their counsel today, and she didn't raise anything significant at this point. But once they're satisfied, there is in the agreement even the form of a letter of support that would be submitted on behalf of the HOA.
Just to be clear, the engineering plans, as opposed to the conceptual plans, they would be attached to the agreement as an exhibit?
No, the agreement just has the conceptual plans. Ultimately, it would be your board that would approval, the technical aspects of the more detailed plans. We're not having the HOA go through the engineering and how the SWPPP works and grading and all of those things.
So-
The types of things we've shown them are the basic site plan, the lighting we've talked about, where the electrical service will be, what the landscaping will look like, things that really concern any potential impacts.
Yeah, it's all the location of buildings and things of that nature for
I'm just
aesthetics.
thinking through the process. If they're first going to, at what point, who gets the last say on the engineering plans? Us or them?
You and your consultant, you,
Okay.
with the aid of your
Okay.
consultants.
Yeah, so there's a subtlety here. So unless we're party to that agreement, we don't care about the agreement. However, tell us if there's anything that agreement would affect your decision-making. That's all we're getting to, but we don't need to see that agreement.
Anyone else from the board have questions? I would just ask if you could just point out the difference for the board and of what was previously before us.
Sure.
And the relocation that you just showed us.
Definitely. So the first thing would be on, oops. That's right. This is it, right? Existing, no. Yes. So the first change is the location of the building itself was more to the north in the beginning when we had come to you. With the negotiations, we've moved, like I said, 62 feet further south. Going further south also meant that we're going down slope, because initially the finished floor level was 588, but now we're finding the building at 583. So it's 5 feet lower when you see it from the homeowners association's property. So we've moved further south and down because of the slope and the grade.
And that will be seen from Hunter's Run?
Yeah, so it was closer to the property line of the neighbors. So now we've moved down, but going down also meant going down slope. So the height is,
Rooftop is
yeah,
level.
exactly.
What's
So,
the elevation of the house, the existing houses approximately?
elevation of the existing houses is around 592, 594. Yeah, that's where they
So
are.
it's a little below.
Yeah. Then the second change is we have a white treatment trailer building, which is this building, the temporary treatment trailer. We've noted that this would be removed once the final installation of the permanent treatment facility is there. We'll remove it within 20 days. And there's a note on the site plan that says the same thing. Then we have area beneath the treatment trailer. We mentioned that it's going to be grass. If you look at the landscaping plan, there would be a note that says that that patch is going to be grass. And then we have, again, a note about the color of the building on the site plan first page, that we change it if the HOA still believes that it's going to be imposing on their visual view. So, like Mr. Cleary mentioned, we'll have to obviously come back and get your approval on that as well. So that's for a later date. But for now, the colors that you approved is what we're going with. But there's a caveat in the note that we've mentioned about the color, that it could change. And the only other thing is in the lighting plan, we've added a note under the legend that says that all lights would be motion sensor. Under the legend of the light, there's just one wall-mounted light we're showing at the entrance of the door, and that's going to be motion sensor.
They're all wall-mounted down washed.
And on the landscaping plan, and I got it. And on the landscaping plan, the HOA wanted us to, because the building moved further south, they wanted us to screen the building all the way to its new location. So we've extended the number of trees we're proposing to the new location of the building. So that's going to screen it all the way through further south. So there are some more trees we're proposing. and some more trees would need to be cut because of the relocation of the building, and a tree cutting permit would be needed for that, that we'll pursue with the ECB again. Yeah.
Question, there's a generator there,
Steve, is there a generator? Yes.
and has anything changed in terms of the location or the positioning of it?
I'd let Steve handle that.
I mean, currently, it's in the same space that it was before, but I believe it's going to move to the other side of the existing well house in the new layout.
So you reflect that on the revised plans?
Yes, I believe we did.
They're on there now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind flipping back to the new plan?
And the building is between the houses and the generator?
No, actually, the generator is,
I know that you're required to have a generator, we get it.
no, I think.
Health department
yeah, I think
requires
that
that.
was your location right here. They said there was a proposed generator. Yeah, the generator is actually right in front of the temporary treatment trailer location right now. So we've marked it as proposed portable generator location. It's over here.
When that portable goes away, it'll be right out in the open again?
No, it should be, I
Steve,
gotta
it's
see how the sight lines work, but I think it's going to be behind the building.
Good.
The new building will be built, and unless I got my sight lines wrong.
Steve, you can come here and maybe I'm
Let me see
getting
how it
it
is.
wrong.
This is a permanent generator, it's not a portable.
And the transformer
Oh, right.
location.
Yeah,
And that-
no, it's going to be, where's north?
North.
I think it's to the south. So it's going to be to the south side of the existing well house.
And this is not on wheels, it stays there, it's mounted on the
It
ground?
is on wheels.
It is, okay. That's what.
It's portable, yes.
Yes.
All of our generators are portable, because if we needed, bring it to another location, we needed that flexibility.
So that well house will be between the neighbors and that generator?
Yes, correct. And the landscaping.
Yeah, no, I
I
get it.
think Rami showed you the landscaping. It's a significant landscaping plan
I'm
as
thinking
well.
about the sound. That's why.
Yeah, the building deflects the sound a lot more than the landscaping will, so that's what he's.
So with this being a portable generator, what is going to be the connection should the generator need to be used in the event of a power failure or so forth? Is there going to be a transfer switch outside the building?
Yes,
That's going to be permanent, and then you're just going to tie
just like it is now.
on the emergency side?
Yes.
Okay.
In the existing trailer, just to let you know, so that's an iron and manganese removal system, and part of our building, we're also putting in an iron and manganese treatment system. There's a significant amount of iron and manganese in these wells, so it is greatly needed out there. So us taking that treatment trailer away when we're done is I mean, that was the plan anyway.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, with that then, thank you for the information. I've got some homework to do.
Sure.
There's some comments here that have to be addressed, as well as I'd like to see responses to Mr. Carnaz's
Definitely.
comments, and then we'll get you back on the schedule.
Okay.
Thank you for your courtesy. Have a good evening.
2 years ago, that was quick. Didn't seem like 2 years.
Okay, next on the agenda is Union Energy Center LLC. This is for a site plan.
Good evening again.
Okay. Mike, you had a memo?
I did. It's basically the last memo as last time. There are 4 items that the Mahopac Fire Department required or requested. Once these 4 items are addressed, the Mahopac Fire Department supports the new facility to go in. All zoning compliance items have been addressed.
So the applicant, when they, with their cover letter, was asking that they acknowledge all the referrals, but they really wanted another referral that we didn't include as part of seeker to the Public Service Commission be included. So that's really the driver of this particular submission, at least that's what I got from it. They've indicated that there'd be some updated documents, as long as they address those comments that were made in the prior memo, they should be fine. They're gonna submit a SWIP in the future, they're gonna have, performance bond engineering fees. They've addressed some of the detailed comments, there's only a small bunch more that they need to address, but they'll be able to do it. I guess this was just really to get this in front of the Public Service Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Rich summarized it, Mr. Chairman. So this is really just an administrative correction to include the Public Service Commission. So you will redesignate your intent to be lead agency tonight and include the Public Service Commission. They'll do the recirculation with everybody again so that all the notices are synced up.
Okay.
But that's really all we're doing tonight, an administrative step. So you can redesignate lead agency.
Yeah, so just that's all correct. We are looking to have the Public Service Commission added as an involved agency. So we are hopeful that you'll go through with that tonight. Just general update, in addition to that, we did go introduce the project to the ECB on January 18th. It was generally well received. They expressed an appreciation for the idea of bringing this kind of project, this technology to Carmel to help stabilize the grid and make renewable energy sources generally more viable. So we're in the process of developing a preliminary SWIP that should be ready in time for us to submit it to the board for the next meeting. And so that will allow the applicant's environmental consultant to dig in a little deeper with their permitting with DEC and Army Corps. And then, of course, we'll circle back with ECB once we've moved a little further along on that. And then the only other thing was just a change in the driveway. Mike had alluded to the dialogue that we've had with the fire department. We're meeting all of their requests. One of the items that was requested was that the driveway meet the standard of a fire access road. Initially, we had shown it in an effort to minimize the amount of disturbance coming through the adjacent area and just on the site in general. We set the driveway at just under 15%. So we're basically maxing out what the driveway could do based on code. The fire code, so then we were asked to meet the standards for the fire access road. So the fire code recommends that those driveways not exceed 10%, but that can be waived higher by the local fire officials. So we brought the slope down to 12%, and I think that's what you saw most recently. Since then, the fire department's actually asked that we reduce it to 8%. So of course, it's this back and forth of are we increasing the slope or are we increasing disturbance? Because obviously, the lower the slope is, the longer the driveway has to be, and we have increased disturbance. So we're trying to strike a balance on that. So what we've done most recently is we've reduced it to 10%, which is the recommended fire code amount. So we're hoping that that is a fair compromise slope for the driveway. Of course, the applicant takes safety and the wishes of the fire department seriously, and of course, we'll defer to whatever the board would prefer. But of course, we're trying to balance disturbance against this question of slope. So we just wanted to bring that to your attention, and then of course, as was mentioned, the discussion of adding the Public Service Commission as an involved agency. And that's basically it.
Any questions?
Just one, as long as you're in front of us, is there any update on the governor's task force on fire safety?
I believe there has been. I think that has been published. We'll provide that information with our next submission. I think we'll be back for the next meeting, so we'll make sure to provide that.
Anyone else? Any questions or comments? Okay, then I need a motion to redeclare our intention to serve as lead agency. I'll make a motion to redeclare the planning board as the lead agency.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll see you
We'll see you next time. Thank you.
possibly in 2 weeks.
Yeah, on the 28th, I think is the next meeting, yeah. Great. Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda is Robert and Massimo Rosamilia, 585 Union Valley Road. This is on for site plan.
Good evening.
Good evening, Joe. How are you? Okay, Mike, you have a memo on this as well?
I do. The applicant wants to continue to operate a landscaping business on 3 properties in the residential zoning district. They're only operating on 2, but the third one is used in conjunction through easements and agreements, or maybe not, but they will need to do them. 581 Union Valley Road has a 1-family dwelling with an accessory apartment, which must be owner occupied. 585 Union Valley Road has a single-family house with a garage with an accessory apartment, also must be owner occupied. 589 Union Valley Road has a single-family house. Use variance is needed for 581 and 585. I believe they're parking on one and using the other one, so. In addition, there are several open permits that need to be closed. The applicant should contact the building department for inspections. The rear of the property was regraded without approvals. It appears that the regrading goes past the property lines. You should get that surveyed to confirm if it's passed or not. There are several pieces of equipment, storage containers, firewood, large timbers, other assorted litter and debris on the property. This all needs to be cleaned up and certified that it is on the property or on the neighbor's property. We'll know once the survey comes through. Provide floor plans and elevations for all structures. I'd like to inspect all buildings on the 3 lots to verify the uses. Easements must be submitted for the 3 properties for the review by council. There's a circular driveway that goes across all 3, so it's just make sure everybody has right to cross to get to their properties correctly.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. And Rich, you had a memo as well, correct?
I do. So the planning board should be aware, somewhat to cover what Mike said, is subject to various site plan violations, one being encroachment into the wetland and regrading at the rear of the site. The project applicant already had soils delivered to the site, and they provided some testing results. However, the overall disturbance of the site was not provided. There's been regrading. The overall disturbance for the project must be provided to determine threshold criteria for New York State DEC stormwater regulations. Referrals to the DEC, DEP, Highway Department, ECB, and Mahopac Fire. Permits would be for DEC for stormwater and wetland, DEP for intermittent streams and wetlands, ECB for wetlands permit. Again, I mentioned this stormwater, performance bonds and engineering fees would be needed to be looked at. Stormwater maintenance bond may be needed for maintenance. Some more detailed comments. There should be a legend on the drawing. It's unclear how much area has been filled based on photographs that I provided to the board. There has been at least 3 to 4 foot of fill that was placed in the rear of the property in the wetland buffer. So a drawing showing the previous condition must be provided. There are wood chips used as the base of the driveway. Applicant indicates that the driveway is gravel. Details on the depth of material must be provided so that if it is going to be used as a driveway, that it's going to be able to hold up over time. They provided an analytical report for soils. The report and sample collection must be written and signed and sealed and performed respectively by a professional engineer. We don't know when or how they were sampled, when they were collected. So there was just some data that was given to us and not any indication of how it was collected, when it was collected, et cetera. There's an uncontained oil tank on the site within the wetland buffer zone. This needs to either be removed or containment provided. Soil testing in the area must be provided, and the oil tank must be performed to confirm there's no contamination. A separate wetland boundary map must be provided. Wetland boundaries are hard to locate on the drawing that's been provided. Graphic representation of vehicle movement should be provided, all turning radii, sight distances, slopes at the entrance need to be defined. Lot 2 does not have a separate driveway access. Easements for driving and parking on both sides need to be provided. Runoff from the driveway and parking area must be addressed. provided driveway cross-section, lighting spill plan, and I added this one, which goes with Mike on 129. I had visited the site, I drove by, there's a semicircular driveway there. There's a common driveway between 581, 585, and 589, 2 ingress and egress points on to Union Valley, which serve for the 3 homes that are there. There should be a defined easement for that. The drawing must show, this drawing only shows 2 of the properties, it doesn't show the 3rd property. It should be on there. If you look at it, it only has half of that semicircle of a driveway, or just a little more than a semicircle. And there are some photographs that were provided in the memo.
Thank you, Rich. Pat?
So most of my comments are repetitive. So this is an illegal operation that's been ongoing for a while. It is not a permitted use in this zone, so they need the use variance to allow this to occur. To give you some context, this is adjacent to the wetland that we learned a lot about on the Willowwood application. So this is the north end of that wetland, state-regulated wetland, that Willowwood abuts. So we know a lot about it. It's a significant wetland. And again, as you heard, this activity's been encroaching into that regulated wetland area. So the state's going to be involved in whether or not there's remediation that's necessary. And my guess is certainly they'll want that activity to be maintained on the site and not into their property. The fill issue is a concern, so they've given some additional information with respect to that, but we need to, just like the concerns we had at Willowwood, we have to make sure what's ever in that wetland buffer is not problematic or contaminated in one way or another. This is an example of the kinds of things we've been trying to address over the years. It's a messy operation as it exists today. Oftentimes, this process allows us to better regulate that type of activity on the site. But there are some instances where it's inappropriate on the site, so you're going to have to make that decision. Rich raised a point earlier about the existing parking area in the rear of the property. That's where a lot of the activity occurs. That's a commercial activity, and whether it's on a gravel or a wood chip base is probably an inappropriate thing. It should probably be a paved area if there's trucks and heavy activity occurring there. That may be problematic in a state wetland buffer. So there's a lot of pieces that all interrelate to this, the decision you're going to eventually have to make with respect to this. All the details, comments you heard earlier about lighting and clarifying how the site's going to be used, all of that needs to be addressed. Site security, are they adding measures to protect, are there high-intensity lights to protect their equipment on the site? All of those sorts of things need to be clarified on how the site would operate should you choose to give them the approvals and should the zoning board grant them the use variance. So again, a lot of repetitive comments.
And the use variance is because this is a residential zone?
It's a residential zone, this is a commercial activity.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, just so you know, when I was at the last meeting, we talked about Willowwood, and I wasn't at Willowwood, but I was in that area, and I heard a lot of noise. There was a lot of noise coming from this site. So you have a noise issue going on one property, you have another noise issue going on this property, which is something you really need to also consider.
Thank you. Hi, Joel.
Good evening. I was privy to the comments that were made since we didn't come to the last meeting, and the consultants were nice enough to basically give me the memos that Mike, Rich, and Pat mentioned, and we are well aware of all these items that they're talking about. Some of them, they're questionable as to which agencies we have to go to, and we will obviously go to the ones that are appropriate to sit down with the town engineer, and so whichever agencies have to be involved will be involved. As far as the wetland in, which, as was mentioned, was right up against the gun club, there was previously at times when some of the wood chips and stuff were actually off the property. I'll show you. This section here, this is Union Valley Road. This is the driveway, the circular driveway that the consultants were talking about. This back over here, this is the Willowbrook Gun Club, and as you can see, this is the line of the wetland. So a little piece of that wetland is right adjacent to our property, and then the wetland basically comes back and goes back on this property over here, and the buffer basically comes back to about over here. So the consultants are correct that a good part of the well, actually, almost all of the parking lot would be in the buffer area, but there will not be any activity, further activity. I mean, there was activity in the past, and this area will be cleaned up so that the wetland can be brought back to its original status. As far as the third lot, which was mentioned by I think by Mike, there is no plans. Yes, they do have a circular driveway, which basically takes care of both the two lots that we're working on, but there'll be no activity as far as the commercial end of the project on this property. The only activity is that this lot over here has access and can come through here. And the other question that was mentioned was the site distance, and we have taken some pictures to show that the site distance in both directions is greater than the requirement. And as I said, Rich just mentioned a whole series of activities and things that and agencies that we have to address. We will then check to see which ones we do have to take care of, and we will take care of all that. But the reason we'd like to bring this project here now at this particular time is the fact so that you're aware of it, and as we go along to address all the comments from the consultants, we will then take care of these items. But we just want you to know overall what's happening here. The only thing that, as far as the activity is concerned, is that the trucks come in the afternoon and they leave in the morning. And there's adequate parking here for the trucks over here. And as Rich mentioned, we will show the fact that these trucks can come in and then get out without having to go off the paved area or whichever pavement we finally decide we're going to do. And there's also parking for the 8 employees that come here. But so basically, the employees come here, park their cars, the trucks are taken out, and they do their jobs during the day, and then, of course, the trucks are brought back to be stored at night. As far as the security is concerned, we did show lighting on the buildings that are here. That's the 2 houses and the garage that's back over here. If for security reasons we feel that we have to add more, we will certainly do that. But again, just to show you the project itself, it's going to be a long process, both zoning board, the various agency, DEC, DEP, and of course the local environmental conservation board. But we are aware of the situation that we have to take care of, and little by little we will work on it to bring it to a point, and hopefully if the use variance is granted, then we'll come back for site plan approval.
Mr. Chairman, I inadvertently didn't address seeker, so we cannot yet classify the action because we're not sure of the extent. So you need to tell us the area of disturbance, so
Yes.
we can determine if it's what kind of action it's classified as. So you can't designate lead agency yet.
In the back, you show the driveway going on the bottom left, a driveway going to the left. Is that correct?
This
Down.
one?
That's Union Valley side, right at the top?
This is Union Valley Road.
Down. Down at the bottom left. Isn't there a driveway going to the left?
Not according to the survey. No, we actually we have this survey here. We also had the wetlands flagged, which I believe I have given a copy of that, but if I'm wrong, I have copies of that so we can see exactly where the wetland is. And as Rich said, we have to get the DEC to verify that they concur with our surveyor who flagged all these wetlands. But you're talking about the third lot, Mike?
Yeah,
This lot over here?
Referring to.
Okay. So it's up by the road, the driveway where it goes across, not the bottom?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
In other words, this is Union Valley Road, and the entrance to the properties is right over here, and it's also the party that lives in this particular house parks over here, so there's the correct amount of parking for them. And the third house, which you've mentioned, they will come in off here and just go down to their property. But the surveyor just showed the fact that this driveway comes in and comes out and vice versa. And we'll show the site distance because the Union Valley Road way further down makes a curve to this direction. So we'll show that. And then in the other direction, it's almost straight. So we should have more than the requirement for site distance.
Well, that's all done by calculations, not by photographs, right? So you got to do calculations for that. You
Well,
said you had
Richard,
photographs that were going to do it.
Let me finish. That's exactly what I was going to say. We took photographs just to get an idea, and obviously we'll do the calculations and go out to the site and measure the distances,
Right,
of
and what
course.
kind of truck vehicles or kind of vehicles are going in and out of there? Do they have sufficient distance? Is there going to be a slope issue with that? You talked about remediation of the wetlands. That's going to be a completely separate plan that you're going to have to submit to this board. You talked about remediating in the buffer or the wetlands, so that's something that's going to have to be done as part of this.
We're not disagreeing with any of that. I've already said that. We will go on and file with any board, any agencies, and of course, your consultants to the point where we would be ready to do something if we get the use variance.
So the proposed parking is going to be in
In the back,
the southeast corner of the property?
yes.
And truck
What
flow
happens
gonna
is the
come
trucks
up
will,
through the property?
after a day's work, they'll come in here and pull back in here. The employees will park along here, and then the trucks will basically come in this way and then back in and then just pull out forward.
And so they'll be passing in front of the house, the two houses, or?
Alongside it.
Actually,
they
yeah,
pass
this is the garage over here.
Okay.
This is the house that Mike was talking about, and the access to the back of the property is to the right as you're coming in off Union Valley Road. It's to the right of the house. This shaded area here is the area that the trucks will be traveling and the employees' cars will be parked.
And just make sure your clients are aware not to do the work to pull things out of the wetlands until we have a plan in place.
Oh, no. Well,
Just so that this way everything's done,
No,
with the
no.
silt
Everything will remain as
fences
it
and all
is
the stuff, correct?
until we
Just
get a
so it's only done once, we don't want to have to
No,
make them do it twice.
absolutely.
Right, so the process is, just because I know the homeowner, or the applicant's here, right?
That's correct.
You got to get the DEC involved now and get that wetlands flag. And I talked to you about that in 2021, that we needed that done. You did have Ted, I think it was Ted Klazowski did the work, excuse me for bastardizing his name. So.
Yes, we
But I
did
mean, we
that.
need a separate report on that. That wasn't provided. We just have kind of a drawing that was put on top of another drawing that's very tight. That kind of information, it's really separate documentations of each of these things that then become the entire project plan, okay? So it's not just this one drawing is gonna solve all your problems. Everything has to be done, and it has to be done with some semblance of order. Yeah, and plans, and don't just go there and start ripping stuff out, because that's gonna make things worse, okay?
They have no intentions of doing that, and as I said, we do have our surveyor, which actually surveyed this, and then as we normally do with wetlands, we'll have the DEC come down and verify whether they agree with it or not. But I believe you, if you don't have it, I will get you the actual map from that the surveyor located the wetland, which is shown here, but you'll see it on a separate map.
Right, you may have provided it in the past, however, it wasn't provided as part of this submittal. So I don't know where that is, right? So the other thing is, of the board, I put pictures in there. You can see some of the material that was used. There's concerns about that driveway, right? Again, I talked about the soils that were tested. There were results provided. Where were they sampled? Who sampled them? When were they done? And some kind of interpretation of what that data means as compared to soil analysis that wasn't provided. So data was just given to us, and, the applicant needs to prove to us that, that soil is clean, that soil is good. And then the other back piece of it, which Mike mentioned and I mentioned, is that sufficient for the driveway? I mean, there's 3-4 foot of fill that was brought in to make that parking area that is the quote-unquote existing parking area. What was it beforehand? I don't know, right? That's up to the applicant to provide us that information.
The report that you were referring to, or results, or data results?
Yeah, all it was a
it
laboratory
stamped or
report.
sealed by a professional engineer, or was there any?
It was just laboratory results, so it was sent to York Laboratories for soil testing. I don't know who did them, when they were done, right, how they were done. Sorry, I'm not on this, sorry. But
Do you have any? would you be able to
Again,
provide any more
all of the
information
comments
on
that they made are in the reports that they gave me, so we will follow through on item by item and get them all done.
Because I think we will need more info on that.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, we will need more info on the soil samples.
Oh, yes. Yes, also. And also, one other thing that I know the consultants were, in their reports, they were talking about cross easements and so on. At this particular point, until we get a little further along and get the use variance, if we don't get the use variance, the easements are useless. Excuse me.
Why would they be useless if you're using, why would it be useless if you're using the, if you have
If we
three
don't get
different?
the use variance, the project is,
No, but there's still 3 houses off of 2 driveways.
yeah. Oh, okay, well.
It's not, that's what I mean, we're not trying to be difficult, we're trying to clean up a site that's only using 2 access points for 3 houses.
I agree with that 100%. And in talking about it, we said we would certainly do it.
So your easements are gonna shrink if there's no project. If there is a project, then you'll have the easement to the back.
Absolutely.
Are those fuel tanks active that are?
No, the tank that they were talking about is going to be removed as suggested.
Can be removed, okay.
Right, but there's oil stains on the ground in front of it, so again,
Yeah.
concerns, right? Wetlands, the whole thing. So,
The oil tank that you took a picture of, it seems to have hoses on it.
it's been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to.
Yeah,
Is that for filling trucks, for you, fueling trucks? Yeah. Because that,
Yeah, it's underneath the porch in the back, underneath the stairwell.
Yes, yeah. The one under the stairwell.
Probably come.
The building.
right, the one to the left.
The one to the left, the red one, yes, that one provides diesel for trucks.
When that, I would assume, would that need a spill containment?
You have to use a microphone.
So the red tank that you see, that one provides diesel for the trucks. The other one provides oil for the unit.
How does the red one get filled? In other words, do you get a delivery?
A truck comes and fills it up
So you get a truck pulling in.
Once a
How
week,
often
yeah.
does that truck come to fill up? the
once a
tank?
week.
That's,
Look at the picture, you see oil stains
Yeah,
everywhere, so.
Would,
You also
I mean, would that require spill containment around the tank? Since
Yeah,
they're-
certainly. I mean, it's, you know, it's getting filled up once a week, and it's in a wetland buffer area.
And with the change in use like this, do we need to be concerned about like septic and stuff?
So I don't know the condition of the existing septic systems. They're not adding any dwelling units or any habitable space, but what's there should be there legally, and there's a history here of problems. So it's worth verifying it, certainly.
That's why I asked for the floor plans in the inspection, so I could go in and verify what's there and make sure everything's what it's supposed to be, that's all.
By doing those plans, obviously, well, Mike will see the bedroom count, and that will determine whether the septic systems are adequate, and we can follow through on that.
But does it impact with the number of workers that are there? So that's a legitimate question. So yeah, you have number of bedrooms, you have a bedroom count, septic is designed for that. Now you have a business that's running in there that has a different requirement for septic. Has that been run through the Putnam County Department of Health? Have we looked at that? That may not have been in my memo, but that might be something that needs to be looked at.
It's actually, there isn't a bathroom that the guys use on the property, so.
Again, a concern that the planning board should be made aware
Okay,
of,
I'm
right?
just saying, well, because literally the guys show up in the morning, leave with the trucks, and if they have to go to the bathroom, they go on the way to the job, and then they come back, get in their cars and leave. So there's really no, there's no trucks coming in, picking up material or anything like that. It's just our truck coming, parking, leaving, and then they come back at night and leave. So,
So again, and this would be more something that Pat would say, that needs to be explained to the board and documented to the board how the business is operating, right? We don't know that, right? On the plat, you know, the whole thing has to be there, so that is something that is enforceable going forward in the
It
future.
would be a condition of approval, that that's how you guys operate.
And that's fine, that works, right? I mean, however, we don't know that until you just told us that, right? So that needs to be given to us.
We should be able to look at that map and know the whole story.
Okay. Should we start with Once Upon a Time?
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? If not, Joe?
Okay,
go on.
thank you very much.
All right, good luck.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Next up, we have
Schlaku.
Giannico Development, Inc., 345 Austin Road, sketch plan.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you? Mike, you had a memo?
Yep, the applicant proposes to divide a lot into two off Austin Road in Mahopac. The lot is currently a flag lot, and the two new lots will both be flag lots. According to the plat, the two lots are sharing a driveway with the neighbor to the north. The driveway starts on the neighbor's property and crosses onto the two properties, then divides off to the neighbor's house, and then the two proposed houses. Provide copies of all easements for review by council. There are 6 variances required from the Zoning Board of Appeals. The lot depth lines exit and re-enter the lot, and width variances, things of that nature. It's because of the shape of the lots.
And Rich, you have a memo as well?
So Mike mentioned how the parcel's being divided. I think the applicant did provide easements for planning council to review. Preliminary comments are provided, signed and sealed by a licensed surveyor, survey of the property, identify if there's sufficient road frontage, and the driveway maintenance the maintenance agreement should be provided. You have provided these things, and it should be reviewed by council. As we move forward, this is for sketch plan now, so I have no objection to the subdivision as it is otherwise, other than, there's all the comments, all the standard permitting agencies and whatever, so.
So this application was last before you, I think in July, and where you focused on was this driveway issue. So if you can see on the plan, it starts on the neighbor's property, winds back onto this property, and then shoots back off to the neighbor and to the two new homes in the rear of the property. We were uncomfortable with the property for, the driveway for this property living on the adjacent property, and we asked Paul to consider that. What Paul's come back with, and by the way, the driveway was non-conforming and inadequate to serve 3 homes. What Paul's come back with, and we asked him, could you move it onto your property? Apparently, they've chosen not to do that, but what they have done is an agreement to improve the driveway on the neighbor's property to our standards. So it's still on the neighbor's property, it still winds in and out. The configuration to the back lots has changed a little bit, but that's the big change, that he's not putting it back onto his property. He's continuing to rely on the neighbor's property, but at least it's designed to be town standard.
Correct.
The board has received documentation on, there's an easement?
Yes.
For that driveway, and we've received that?
Yes.
Yeah, it was provided as part of the package that was given.
Provided as part of the package.
Yeah, there's an existing easement that basically defines the center line of what was originally the driveway, and basically gives you 5 feet on both sides. The driveway, as it was actually constructed, moves a little to the left, it moves a little to the right. So what we would be proposing is to have a new easement that basically gives you a 20-foot width, which I think the town would be happy with, and have the driveway within that easement.
Paul, would you mind pointing for the board and myself? Give me the outline of the 5.8 acres first, obviously. Okay, and then the easement to get to that property is right there.
And this,
That's what you're proposing to widen?
this is the existing driveway as it comes up, and at this point, it turns off to the DeFino property. So we come in on the DeFino property,
So then it becomes a common,
it's all common, yes. It's shared, they have that easement. Now, there is no maintenance agreement that's in place currently, just so the board knows. So that's something that would have to be worked out.
and there's a current house on the property?
There's Mr. DeFino's house. There was a house on the main lot, which was up in this area, but that burned down, I think, in like 2004.
So there'll be 2 new homes there,
Correct.
with the existing home that goes with the original easement,
Yes. Yeah, it'd be 3 in total instead of the 2.
3 homes.
So, Paul, when we talked about this last time, we talked about moving the driveway, and you had site distance and engineering issues, why?
We just couldn't, I couldn't make the grades work for the driveway.
Just explain that to the board, not me.
Yeah, in other words, if I were to bring my driveway in at this point, I'm starting at a 10-foot lower elevation. And to try to make that work, I'm coming back and forth just to make grades work that meet the town
You
driveway.
have a depression from the road to the first part of the driveway?
Excuse me?
Your elevation, you would drop down 10 feet?
No, I'm saying if I were to start my driveway, if I were to have a separate driveway just for this lot, I'm starting at 10 feet lower than that one in terms of elevation, but I got to get back, up into this area. So I've got steeper grades. And the only way to deal with steeper grades would be to take it and to just to serpentine it back and forth, back and forth. And you're adding now all this new impervious surface, and that creates a whole lot of other issues. And yeah, it just makes a whole lot of headaches trying to do that. And, it made more sense to approach the neighbor, talk to him about widening out that entrance, pulling the grade back off of Austin Road so you can have good sight distance that meets the town code, and then, continue with your shared driveway.
So from our perspective, shared driveways are not ideal. It always comes back to haunt us sooner or later. However, a series of switchbacks to get a piece of fire apparatus back to a lot, by the way, where there was a fire 10 years ago, it's probably more preferential to have the shared driveway that physically works better than a contorted driveway that's on the individual lot.
But even if we had to move the driveway, it seems as though we'd still be in a shared situation because the other property owner would have to use that one to get
Yes.
his property.
Yes.
It's always going to be shared. Because that middle piece is shared.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like the neighbors have been reasonable and come to an accommodation, and so, it seems like a good result.
Joe, is there any documentation you think we would need in addition to what's been provided?
I'll take a look at the submission.
Yeah, if you would, please.
But I'll let you know if there's anything that's needed.
Just preliminarily, it'd be nice to hear from the neighbor, saying we're okay with this. The easements and so forth, those are conditions of approval. Joe will look to that toward the end of the process. But I think at this point, we just need to have something from the neighbor saying they're okay with this.
We're not in,
I'm the neighbor, I have something. Want me to talk to you?
Sure.
Come on, Sandy.
It's not a public hearing, I guess.
part of the applicant.
Yeah, it's, oh, you got something written too?
Yeah, I got it written.
Okay, good.
Wasn't sure I did.
We all are.
In charge of this
Thank you.
chicken.
You can read that, and I just want to add to it a little bit.
Sure. If I read out loud, it'll be for the record, so that'd be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, dear Mr. Chairman and the members of the board, my wife and I are property owners of 349 Austin Road, tax map 64.9-1-14, and we share the driveway with Richard and Aristide Shalaku. We have met with them and their engineer and reviewed plans for the reconstruction and regrading of the driveway. We understand that the driveway alignment will change and a new easement will have to be created for all three lots, which will need to be filed in the county clerk's office. I have no objection to improvements to the driveway. I understand that I would not be responsible for any of the costs of expansion of the easement or for any problems addressing stormwater management. I would also not be responsible for any legal costs, permits, or a change of deed filings. As for maintenance agreements for the common driveway, I have plowed trucks and have plowed the driveway for the past 40 years. But that would have to be discussed. Sincerely, Stephen and Mary Ann DeFino. Signed by Mary Ann DeFino.
So there you go.
So, can we keep this for the record? We're going to put this on the record, okay.
So now it's all about the details.
And you'll hammer that out in the maintenance agreement.
They'll work that out. So at this point, we'd like to go to the zoning board if we can, see if we can get our variances to actually have a project, if possible.
Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, you see the issue here. It's two back-to-back flag lots, one flag going up, one flag going down. There are no options to make this any better. It is what it is. He needs the variances. So, yeah, it's appropriate to send him off to zoning board.
And they're just area variances, so the seeker isn't an issue.
Okay. Then I'll need a motion to deny this to the ZBA.
I'll make a motion to deny to the ZBA.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
So there'll be a public hearing.
It's going to be a part, and then you can speak if you like.
Before any of this goes through, I want to have attorney look at it for
Good idea.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that you can say, yes, by all means. Yes.
No, I'm not signing nothing.
I know.
Be careful with those lawyers. All right, thank you.
Okay, you're up next, though? Yeah. Okay, then, last we have on the agenda is Cass subdivision, 90 Mexico Lane.
What do we do?
Mike?
90 Mexico.
Sorry. The applicant wants to subdivide lot into two lots. Variances are required from ZBA for lot area and rear yard for lot 1 and lot area for lot 2.
Rich, you had a memo as well?
Yeah, so almost the same exact comments from the last one. I have no, you need a signed and sealed licensed survey of the property. Does not contain info regarding areas for open space. As we move forward, plan section 131.13 should be brought in. There should be a separate subdivision plat provided, but on the grand scheme of things, I have no objection to the sketch plan as provided.
So we saw this once before, Mr. Chairman, so two significantly undersized lots, about 1.5 acres in a 3-acre zone. So that's the challenge that creates constraints with wells, septic systems. There's just not a lot of area to make them work. So that's Paul's job to figure out a way to make that work on the site. We had asked to clarify the site distance for the new driveway onto Mexico Lane. I don't think you've addressed that yet. And there's grading and so forth associated with all of that work. So this one, again, there are not many options. It is what it is, but just bear in mind, there's a big ask for the size of the variances on this. It's substantially undersized.
Our current zoning, our current plan, these are 2 acres?
3 acres.
3 acres.
But you asked him at the last meeting to show the area of the adjacent lots, I believe, right? Isn't that what you did on this
Yes,
map?
I mean, that was the commentary at the last meeting was, well, show us what's going on around the acre that we want to subdivide. So this is the tax map for this quadrant in the town of Carmel. And basically, you're looking at lots that range in size from 1.49 to 1.5, 1.45. So these are all pretty much 1.32. They're all pretty much the same size around it. Now, I went a little bit further and looked at constraints, which really has an awful lot to do with what you really can do with your property. Because it's been mentioned that there's some larger lots around here, such as this lot is somewhere like in the vicinity of like 8 acres, and this lot is somewhere like 6.8 acres. And when you look at constraints, let me get to the right page. What we did was we took a constraints map and added that to the tax map. So it's New York City DEP 2-foot contours. And what's in green down here is pretty much New York State DEC regulated wetland, OL 52, and there would be a 100-foot buffer that wraps around that. The light gray here is 15 to 25%. The dark gray in this area, an area up in here, on these larger lots, it's greater than 25%. So they're not really areas that you're going to be looking to develop. There's just not much you can do with it. So when you get back to looking at a sizable lot as to how it fits in the area, that 1.5 acre lot does fit.
And I think, as Mike indicated at the last meeting, prior to the upzoning in 2002, that was a 1 acre area.
No, 60,000, 1.5.
1.5 acre, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
And do we know where this fits in on the master plan that we're working on now?
You're staying with 3 acres from the last.
And that area is 3 acres.
That's not fully true.
Oh, okay.
This area will be either 2 or 3 acres, but we're talking 3 at the moment.
Could you go back and show us the, how it's proposed to be split, the lot? No, not,
That's what I
no,
heard.
do you have the drawing that shows how the lot is gonna be split?
Other than the tax map, did you do any detail?
We're pretty much splitting it from the sharp 90-degree turn down here and bringing it straight up right through here. And these are the neighboring septic areas, and that's how I established where my well would be. And we had done some preliminary testing for septic over here, and the results were very good.
And again, where's the existing house?
The existing house is back here. So that's why it needs its variance, because it's basically 7.38 or something to that effect off the property line.
Wow.
But that house has been there for a long time.
You pointed out to the septic systems of the adjacent properties,
Yes,
and we know everything's flowing downhill.
correct.
So do we anticipate water issues with well?
No, because this is my health department regulated keyhole, which is, in other words, anything 200 feet uphill from me. If I put my well here, that's 200 feet up. I have a 50-foot strip there, 50-foot there, and you bring it back to where you get a 100-foot radius. And in essence, there can't be a septic within that keyhole.
So where would the septic be on the proposed properties?
I'm over here. So
Then
the,
you'd be closer than the 150, right?
no, I'm outside of it. So in other words,
So what you're saying is it just fits? So if there's a problem with the soils where the septic system is, and he needs to move it, or he needs an expansion area, there's really no place to go because of those wells. That's the issue with the undersized lots. There's just no flexibility. That was good, Paul. We can't see a thing with that. Get an orange marker, will you?
Pick the only color worse than white.
my orange one died yesterday.
So would there be any plan for backup septic field?
Oh, my box is oversized.
Okay.
So in other words, the septic itself is probably going to take up a much smaller area over in here, and this also includes for 100% expansion.
Okay.
So the 100% expansion, you'll never use.
That's by county code. You have to have the room for 100%.
Yeah.
You know, Paul knows the rules, so I'm reasonably confident that that's correct, but he doesn't make that decision, the health department does. So ultimately,
Correct.
it's somebody else going to make that call.
The key to this submission right now is the variance on the zone.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do to make this better. This is as good as it can be, So that you're either going to deny it because you don't like it, or let him go to the zoning board and see if they're going to give him this substantial relief.
I mean, the comments are what they are. There's nothing can be done on the comments until we get the variance, if you were. So would we do 2 votes here?
If you want to send the zoning board, just if that's.
Okay, so
Motion to
if we do
deny.
a call for, to deny this to the ZBA, yes or a no vote would be what the board would. Okay.
There's a public section, and people can speak up there?
Not yet, so.
No, I don't know the rules. Not yet.
That's fine.
It will be at the zoning board, and then if it comes back here, there'll be another one here. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Is
so
the motion?
what I'll do is do we do a roll call on this, or is it not necessary? Okay, so then I'll need a motion to deny the applicant to the ZBA.
I'll make a motion to deny the applicant to the ZBA.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the matter will be on the zoning board agenda next, and they hold a public hearing the same night. So the night that it's on, you should be there if you want to speak.
You can call our office and see which agenda it
Stamp them all. Just keep bringing. I'll stamp everything.
Oh, there's the yellow.
Yeah. Pick the only color worse than white.
Okay, I don't believe we have any minutes.
No.
With that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.